just recorded this whole video and my mic was turned down so low that the noise gate blocked all my talking. So screw you, noise gate. This one's going to be a little bit shorter because I have a lot of videos I'm working on and I want to make sure I can get to those too. But I still have the full song, I still have all that. Just the video is going to be a little bit shorter. That's the only difference here, okay? Okay, let's get into it. So there are two types of songs on this album. One is a song like, First It Giveth or Millionaire. And then there's songs like Song for the Dead. We're not going to try to write Song for the Dead, okay? We're going to write one of the more simple ones, more of the straightforward rock songs, because that's a more realistic challenge, okay? So the first thing I made sure I absolutely wanted to have in this song was a bouncy bass line that went up and down from octave to octave, and that's what I did in the chorus. So I'll play a little section of that here. It does get buried in the mix a little bit because there's a lot going on in the chorus of this song. So I wanted to make sure I could give you guys a solo of that so you could hear it, because it's something I really noticed throughout the album. There's a lot of bouncing bass lines and it's a great theme and it really helps make the music stand out. So there's that. The second thing I was absolutely certain I wanted to be in the song was some sort of harmonization of the guitar parts, and I managed to throw that in the bridge of this song. It's very strange sounding because, well, you'll hear it. It's a little weird, right? And then I throw in a harmonization of it too. There are a lot of songs in this album, like in Millionaire, where there's these like really cool lead guitar parts that have like, other guitars playing the same thing but just slightly different notes, and it's really cool. So I threw that in there. I have it go again in the second half of the bridge/solo section, where it's just playing octaves, mimicking the power chords that are being played on the other guitars, the rhythm guitars here. So these are mimicking, but then it goes up and harmonizes as well. So those are two of the main details I wanted to have in the song. So although I am a drummer, I actually don't have a drum set, as I've mentioned many times before. I used to have one, but I had to move and I couldn't bring it with me, partially because it was so clunky and big to bring around, but also because we have neighbors and they would kill me. The only drum set I could use would be an electronic drum set, which I don't have the money for, so Patreon in the description. Just joking, kind of, not really. Please help me. But trying to write the drum part for this album on MIDI drums is practically impossible. I did it as well as I think I could have done. I have a lot of cool fills here and there, like here. I have a lot of change-ups in the beat throughout the song. It's not just sticking to the same thing the whole time, because when you have someone like Dave Grohl on the drums and something's frantic, energetic, loud, and driving, it's hard to mimic that with just playing one like straight 4 on the floor beat the whole time. So I have a lot of switches in the beat. It goes from halftime back to like full force. And there's tom fills and rhythm sections. And that little part there with the early snare hit was supposed to be like the intro of Song for the Dead. Of course, it's not nearly as good, but it's trying to mimic the style, okay? Don't judge me. Now, for the main riffs, I think we can all agree that there's a certain vibe to a lot of the heavier riffs on this album. Similar to the drumming, they're frantic, they're energetic, but most importantly, they're like dark and heavy, while also not being like, metal levels of heavy. So I tried to kind of mimic the same vibe of the riffs on the album, but I definitely did not want to copy any of the actual riffs, because it's a hard, fine line to balance between like writing a song that could be on the album and writing a song that is on the album. There's like either it's going to sound too much like the album or it's going to sound nothing like the album, and finding the perfect ground in between can be difficult. I think I did it pretty well here by compromising and just mimicking the style rather than any actual riff specifically. because I kept writing different riffs and they all ended up sounding like Millionaire for some reason. But here's what the main riff ended up sounding like. So there's an intro that builds up to it, and then here's the main riff. I think that's pretty dark and heavy, and I think it sounds pretty awesome. And it goes pretty well with the drum parts as well. Then we get to the chorus where things get to be a little bit more rhythmic and less legato and dragged out, trying to mimic something like No One Knows. Of course, it's not exactly the same because it's just on power chords. I'm not using any of the higher notes that they use to accent that riff, but... There's also a lot of guitar slides on the album, like that. This part does kind of remind me of The Sky Has Fallen. So I also read up on the lyrics of a bunch of my favorite songs on the album to see if I could get some general themes to pick out, and a lot of the ones that I noticed had something to do with finality, human fragility, and depression, that kind of stuff. So I tried to cover those topics in the few lines that I have in the song. As the album has that theme of like the radio, I tried to have the second verse, which gets pretty crazy and frantic compared to the first verse. I actually put vocals in that kind of mimic the effect of a radio voice. So all the lows are taken out of the mix for that voice, and there's a little bit of distortion that you would just like you would get on a radio that you were listening to in the middle of the desert or something. So hopefully that came through. You definitely hear the distortion there, correct? But there's also a ton of stuff rolled out in the bottom of the mix here, as you can see. And the top is just like normal. I didn't want to actually add any like radio talking in there, but I did want to throw in that little detail there, which hopefully some people would pick up on. And I think that's actually it for the song. That's most of the things I wanted to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry this one was a little bit shorter. Like I said, I'm working on a bunch of stuff right now. And if you guys are interested in downloading the song, I'm going to play the whole thing in just a second. But if you're interested in downloading it or playing it on Spotify or Deezer or anything, they'll be linked in the description down below after they're up. However, they're not going to be up quite yet because they're still in the middle of processing, and it can take up to a week for that to happen. So I'll make a community post when they're up. And thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day. Peace out. Watcha.